Okay, we are live. Gotta let it breathe just for a moment. Hang tight, guys. Appreciate your patience. Appreciate you. And this is a brutal one, guys. I mean, when the coach, let me try this one more time. The Facebook group didn't want to play ball. Come on now. Let's go, MHH super fans. There we go. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast, the gut reaction, and I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, it's always tough when the coach goes off and says something that, and then fails to deliver and makes the Broncos kind of look like a laughing stock, and Nathaniel Hackett gets his revenge, so to speak. Man, it just makes for a really crappy emotional tone coming out of another loss. What was your gut reaction to Jets 31, Broncos 21?
Let the rebuild begin. At this point, Chad, they really have nothing left to lose, and they should get a jump start on that process. The season is pretty much effectively over at 1-4. They had to have this game, and from the morale factor alone, letting Nathaniel Hackett come into your building, putting up more than 16 points. Russell Wilson melting down with the turnovers, the defense letting Zach Wilson go down the field in the fourth quarter. It's pretty much same old Broncos, and I think the harsh reality that I'm struggling with, I'm pretty sure you're struggling with, Chad, is that they were never one player away. This is a team that is deeply flawed, and it's been put out in front of us this season full force.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot of problems, obviously. One thing I want to bring up is the Russell Wilson thing. The fact that Zach, he kind of, all right, you put together that drive, got back into the game, three up, still down by 3, and your defense gets you the ball back. Patrick Surtain makes a great play in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter, late in the fourth, and Russ is on the move. Then he fumbles that ball. Did you see Sean Payton chewing him out on the way out, on the way back to the sideline, basically saying, Zach, throw the mother ducking ball away, dude. And Russ just kind of kept walking. But it's like one of those situations where, once again, it's on a different level. It doesn't feel like some of these previous squads because the offense is significantly more competent, the 4 straight 3 and outs notwithstanding. But it feels like, once again, Zach, the Broncos are slave to Murphy's Law. They get one leak plugged, right? And then another one springs. And then they run over and they get that one plugged, and then this one springs. Just when you're going, all right, we got to get Marvin Mims the ball. He kills you. In this game. The defense starts showing a little bit of progress in the first half. You're going, okay. And then the offense goes into a shell. In the second half again, it's like still searching, Zach, for that complementary brand of football. But this team, Murphy's Law, what could go wrong for the Broncos continues to still go wrong.
I would say, yeah, they're an improved offense, but not when they go off script. It seems like the first quarter, the second quarter, they look decent because they have the game plan, meted out for those quarters. But when the second half rolls around, or when teams make an adjustment, or when a penalty is committed or a turnover is committed, they just implode. So the more things change, the more things stay the same. I thought this was a terrible showing, if we're being frank, for Sean Payton's play calling, for Sean Payton's offense, and for Russell Wilson. I've defended him ad nauseum over and over and over again. And I wouldn't really pin the losses the Broncos had before this game on him or the offense, but this one, a lot falls at their feet. It was not good enough. And if Sean Payton was chewing him out, Russell Wilson definitely deserved that.
Scott, real quick, guys, we want to get to your super chats. Zach and I, of course, we're going to riff off everything you guys say, and we're going to share our takes and our thoughts. But we've reached kind of a point where it's like, what more can we say? We want to hear from you guys. Before we get to that, though, we got to say thank you to Ticketmaster, because it is more fun, even when the Broncos come up short, to be there live for Denver Broncos football. And even though this season has jumped the tracks, guys, MHH meet and greet October 22nd at the stadium. So if you need tickets, Ticketmaster's got you covered. As the official marketplace of the Denver Broncos and the NFL, Ticketmaster gives you more ways to find your perfect seat with a wide selection of tickets available for every game. And if your plans change, a little peace of mind, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell or transfer your tickets. Plus, mobile tickets Make getting in on game day a breeze, and you can even customize your Ticketmaster app or rep your team's colors. So find tickets today at ticketmaster.com/Broncos. All right, let's jump into the stream here, see what's on everybody's mind, Scott. FA jumping in early with back-to-back top rope super chats. Love you, big dog.
Thank you, FA.
He says, have a great show, guys. What a brutal loss. Everything that can go wrong went wrong. Indeed, Murphy's Law. Time to start trading away pieces and rebuild for the future. This team just flat out doesn't know how to win. Good for Hackett. Russell, throw the dang ball. Should we grab the other one now, Scott? And okay. All right, never mind. Oh, here we go. Number 2 from FA. FA, we love you, big dog. He also says, we get Jewell and Simmons back. Same result. Play the young guys. Give them the experience and get ready for the future. This is a systematic problem. These players just don't know how to win. Let's pull a Detroit Lions. Sucks for a few years, and boom. Zach.
Man, that's a tough pill to swallow, telling the fan base the Broncos haven't been relevant in 8 years. 2 more bad seasons, then we'll be good. Just suck it up until then. I understand the point you're making, FA, and that very well may be the reality for Denver. They have to blow it all up. They've been putting off this rebuild for years. They've been doing half measures and half rebuilds and rebooting and restarting. They haven't gone through the full process, but reality is staring at them in the face, and it's telling them, listen, this is the time now. Your team's not going anywhere. They have holes throughout the roster. They have holes on the coaching staff. They still have, it pains me to say, some question marks at quarterback with Russell Wilson. I mean, now is the time.
It's like you get a nice little storyline. Obviously, Russ has played pretty well the first 4 weeks of the season. Can't really call it the first quarter of the season anymore because now you got 17 games screwing up the math. But, he's played significantly better, like way better, about what you would have expected from him when the Seahawks traded him and the Broncos gave up what they did. Yeah. Then you go, okay, Von Miller, he's going to bat. He's saying, man, Russ is going crazy. These guys definitely have what it takes. And of all the games that Russ picked to have his kind of step on a rake moment, the revenge match against Nathaniel Hackett was like the penultimate worst. Because look, even if Sean Payton never said what he said on the doorstep of training camp about Nathaniel Hackett's coaching last year being like among the worst coaching jobs in NFL history, even if he hadn't said that, the Broncos still, this was an emotional game, right? Hackett coming back, Russ tanking the stock of your career, tarnishing with some help of yourself, of course, your public image and all that. You got to save your best for this guy when he comes back to your house, even though I'm sure Russ has nothing but love for Hackett. There's never any reports of beef between them, but still. And then when you need him in the second half, Zach, 4 straight 3-and-outs. Has a nice drive, and then just makes a try too hard pressing kind of bad play where he gets strip sacked and they return it for the touchdown, game over. But it's just, again, it's another example of the Murphy's Law. They take steps forward, they take steps back, they plug one hole, they plug another. Still a team in flux, man.
And this is why you really can't box score scout. I mean, if you look at Wilson's numbers, 20 of 31 for 196, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, had a quarterback rating of 103.7. But if you watch the game, you'd see how poor Russ performed, the fumbles, and the offensive line still, by the way, just letting him get killed on most dropbacks, the defense not being able to make a stop in crunch time against Zach Wilson. I mean, again, we thought this would be a new Broncos team, a new Broncos era, but the more that changes, the more that stays the same with this culture. I echo what I think it was FA who said they don't know how to win, and until things change, they are losers.
Naj, my brother, we love you, appreciate you. He says the team is terrible, but it starts with coaching. The decline in ability by the defensive players is staggering. Wilson's worst game, definitely his worst game this season. I'll agree with that. Peyton brought this upon everyone. He's arrogant, and his coaching has worsened the team. It's a disgrace to be a fan. It's hard to say. I have a hard time going totally to the mat with you on that he's worsened the team. I think the biggest problem here that Sean Payton still is dealing with, and he was the first thing he said was, I got to be better. At the top of his press conference, we were running a little bit late today, so I got to watch all of Payton's presser this time, and he did fall on that sword, and he said, I got to be better, etc. But Zach, the haunting move that still continues to hamstring the Broncos is not only his decision to buck against NFL convention and make the controversial decision to rehire Vance Joseph. It would have made sense on some level to rehire Vic Fangio because there's proven, he's proven it's come out in the wash through a long, many decade sample size. He's among the best coordinators on that side of the ball in the NFL. Too soon for Vic. He took the money, went to Miami. You bring back Vance Joseph. Okay, now you're trying to look like the smartest kid in school. You're trying to look like, you've outthunk everybody. And here we go. Well, we know how it shook out, Zach, the first 4 games. This one, you look at the numbers and you go, okay, well, at least it's not 70 points. No. Look, you allowed Breece Hall, all right, who is a great running back. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away, to average 8 yards per carry, 177 yards. They gave up well over 200 rushing yards, Zach. Zach Wilson, I mean, he only finished with 199 passing yards, but he was mostly efficient, made a few dumb plays, all right, but just this defense in critical moments, it continues to come up short. And I got to tell you, Zach, Justin Simmons is an experienced safety. He's a multi-time All-Pro. Josie Jewell, very competent, slow at the second level as every game continues to showcase. But just that something with the coaching, it needs to change. And Sean Payton just doesn't seem like he's willing to save himself and thus his team by making that decision. And you grab this one from Ethan, Zach.
I have my own comments, but that's, we have to take this for sure from DWI guys, $100 super. Thank you so much, Ethan. He says, you all know the reality. It is here. It has been here for years. Sean Payton was brought in for this reason: get rid of the baggage and build a team. Elway saying we are never rebuilding was GM talk. We should have done this 5 years ago, but alas, we will start now. I tend to agree with this point, Chad. I feel like Elway was always kicking the can down the road because whether his own ego or some sort of delusion, he felt the Broncos were truly, a Case Keenum away or a player away when they weren't, or, a coordinator away. Sean Payton knows how the sausage is made in the NFL. And unfortunately, that sausage, it could be a multi-year process before it tastes good. So, I do think this was the plan. Maybe if things went off the tracks, they'll see how it works with Russ this year. They'll see how it works with Sean Payton and George Payton together. And if it doesn't, blow it all up and let Payton build the team in his image.
Elway, 2015, you guys have heard me say this before, but we have a lot of new listeners. 2015 convinced John Elway, post Peyton Manning, all right, that the Broncos were just one middle-of-the-road quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. And we all know how that came out in the wash. And I agree with you. That was a good point about Elway never being willing to admit the need for a rebuild because he had really fooled himself into thinking that. And for most of that span of him being still the GM post Super Bowl 50, Zach, the Broncos did have top 10, sometimes top 5 defenses, top 10. It was always the offense that he could never get right, the coaching decisions, the quarterback, etc. But he could never confront the issue and just say, look, maybe you don't say it publicly, but you act is probably the more appropriate thing here. You behave, you maneuver, Zach, in a way that it needs to be done. You got to rebuild this thing. And before today, I was kind of holding out hope going, well, I don't want to quite throw in the towel on, abandon 2023 and tear it all down. But you're at 1-4 now. You just lost to the Jets. Nathaniel Hackett's dancing on your grave. This is probably one of the catalysts, Zach, that will eventually lead to, barring some kind of miracle that we are not foreseeing quite yet, this will lead to the Broncos falling on, you want to talk about falling on a sword relative to the dead money they're going to eat on Russell Wilson when they move on from him, because they are, within spitting distance of a franchise quarterback in the next draft. Rebuild it.
Well, here's the thing with Elway, Chad. Where was his weakness as a GM? He was good signing free agents, but he was pretty bad with the draft. George Payton is the opposite. He's been really pretty good with the draft and not so great with free agents for the most part. So you like to have that happy medium, and Elway never really found that, and that's why he put off the rebuild. And also getting the head coaching hires wrong over and over and over delayed that rebuild. But we think they have the head coach now in Sean Payton. The offense does look better. They have more accountability, though. even the words I'm saying sound hollow as they're coming out of my mouth because the Broncos are 1-4. And ultimately, Chad, that is all that matters. The offense can look better. They can have accountability. An adult could be in charge, but when you're 1-4, I mean, who really freaking cares?
Well, it's like Ethan brought up and Naj brought up. Well, I think it was Naj that brought it up, but Sean Payton, the offense is better, but and as much as I want to say what's happening on the field, obviously Sean Payton's got to come up with ways to prevent these lapses and these just Homer Simpson moments from happening. But I see a significant improvement on offense. Russell Wilson, obviously bad day to pick having a Doe type of moment, but it's the defense, dude. Just because you no longer can you trust it as an offense, dude. I mean, obviously, no longer you haven't been able to trust it since week 2. But as an offense, Zach, think about this emotionally. Just when you're getting on the horse, you get things rolling. How deflating it is. I mean, it's hard to score points in the NFL. It's hard to win games in the NFL. You're an offense. You finally get things going. You're awesome, dynamic young rookie. Busts off a nice one. You get a touchdown, and then your defense can't stop anybody. Or your special teams, you got to fumble. All these complementary problems continue to plague him, but I think you could begin to solve a lot of this by just biting the bullet on Vance Joseph and letting the chips fall, because what are you worried about? That it's going to be worse? It can't be worse, dude. Move on. You'll get more credibility with your fans. You'll get more credibility with the media by just saying, yeah, bad call. VJ wasn't getting done. We're going to go ahead and try and make the best of this. But Troy, hey guys, good start, but then awful, just awful. And then such a sad second half. Mike McGlinchey is so awful. I guess we know this is a rebuild now. I'm sad, but still a fan. Let's shock KC. Thank you, Troy. Chris jumping in with his traditional gut reaction, symbolic super chat, 21 to match the Broncos scoring total today. Love you, big dog. He says, hard for me to see another win this season. Yes, any given Sunday, but wow, this is bad. I agree. I mean, I was thinking that today too. I'm going, thinking back to the whole Broncos, the games they're supposed to win, they're losing, and it's hard to see them not only winning against any of these games that they're supposed to lose, but do you see another opponent on this schedule, Zach, that the Broncos are supposed to beat?
And guess who's coming up in a few days? Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes in prime time. That should be a thrilling game. No, I mean, listen, any given game or any given Sunday, anything can happen. I understand that, but you have to pencil the Broncos in as the underdog in most of these contests. I mean, when you make Zach Wilson, for the most part, was the point I wanted to make really quickly, Chad, because I wanted to piggyback off something you said really. I know we have a lot to get to tonight. Yes, Russell Wilson was a problem. You can argue the offense lost. Sean Payton's play calling left a lot to be desired, but you're giving up 70-yard touchdown runs. The Jets had one element of offense that can ruin your day, and that was Breece Hall. You let him go for 70. Zach Wilson, to the point about him, he was 19 of 26. Okay, that completion percentage is 73.1. That's his highest all season. So you can make a case to fire Vance or make changes off this game alone, but it's a continuing theme. You made Jimmy Garoppolo look all world. You made Sam Howell look all world. You made Justin Fields a literally perfect passer for the first half. And now Zach Wilson has the highest completion percentage of any point this season. You can keep getting rid of the scapegoats, Chad. Randy Gregory was a scapegoat to Sang Bassey, but at some point you got to narrow it down to the main cause. And on defense anyway, that would be Vance Joseph. It's objective.
I think it would do a lot to help this team, not only by replacing his incompetence, but sending a message to the coaching staff and continuing to send a message to the team. Rock Chalk, brother, good to see you. Thank you. WTF was that? This once proud franchise has been a joke for 7 years running now. Broncos country deserves better than this hot, steaming garbage. Time to sell at the trade deadline. Hashtag MHH for life. Appreciate that. We'll circle back to the whole trade deadline thing when we get a minute. Jeremiah, appreciate that super chat, big dog. Welcome. He says, fellas, what do you think of the fans blaming Russ? Well, they have good reason in this game to blame Russ. The preceding 4, there are stretches of games where you maybe hope that he could have done better. But at the end of the day, we all know that, like, the defense, who's going to overcome that? I mean, the Dolphins game, Peyton Manning 2013 is not – he's a fart in the wind compared to, in the face of such a staggering level of dropping the ball as far as the defense is concerned. Today, though, Zach, when they needed him most, well, first of all, second half, you go 4 straight possessions to open the second half. 4 straight possessions, 3 and out. Before he hit Jerry Jeudy on that big completion on third down, whatever it was, halfway through the fourth quarter, they need on that touchdown drive they got 1 yard of offense, Zach, in the second half. 1 yard because of the sacks and whatnot, but 4 straight 3 and outs. Well, then he redeems it a little bit. He pulls you back from the brink. All right, cool. And then in the clutch, that fumble. I mean, it was a little bit of a rookie mistake. He saw an unblocked guy coming. He saw it. That's why he started bailing out of the pocket. But that dude had a head of steam. You're not going to outrun him. Throw it away, as Sean Payton said. But what happens, Zach, when players begin to press? They don't see the forest for the trees. They make the mistakes that you wouldn't expect them to make.
Yeah, I don't think the offense was used to not having to dig out of a massive hole that their defense put them in, but there's no two ways about it. I've been as pro Russ as you can possibly be while still being, unbiased for the most part. And Russ was bad today. Sean Payton was bad. The play calling was so puzzling. The Marvin Mims double reverse at that moment in time. Yeah. I mean, the fumbles, it looked like, ironically enough, for the first time this season, the offense looked like it did last year under Nathaniel Hackett, with Hackett in the building.
Jordan, thank you for the super chat, big dog. This game today was a must win, falling to 1-4. And next up is the Chiefs. This team is an absolute mess. Sean Payton should be absolutely embarrassed. He is. Jason, thank you, buddy. Why was Russ so afraid to throw the ball? Just let it rip. Give your receiver a chance to make a play rather than take the sack. Denver Broncos for life. #rebuild. I know. It was bizarre, dude. The Jets have a decent passing defense, and Sauce Gardner has a reputation already, and especially that play call, Zach, that you talked about, the double reverse, that they screwed up the exchange, etc. You can blame P. Ryan for tossing it a little too high. You can blame Mims for not securing it. Either way, questionable play call, especially, Zach, with Sauce Gardner taking a little bit of a break in that particular moment of the game. He left with a little dinged up a little. Caleb Williams. Thank you, Diego. Caleb Williams, Drake May season. I assume we try to trade as many players as we can at the deadline. What a miserable team this is, man. Yeah, we'll see, dude. We'll see if that's the way it's trending right now. Jess, keep the phone lines open, baby. Build your team, Peyton. Yeah, Zach, Sean Payton's about to get what he asked for, full control of this thing. And, he's dealing with the results of some bad decisions right now already early in his first year. He's forcing himself to have to say, all right, going to blow it up. Last thing, David, appreciate you, big dog, the Papa Bear. He says, we suck. Zach, your thoughts, and then we got a message for everybody.
My thoughts are pretty much, they suck. You got to be able to take down the Jets, at home and this big game in Hackett's return. But you had to have also taken down Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo in the season opener. They didn't do that either. One more point really quickly, Chad, before I forget later in the podcast this evening. We talk about Sean Payton and the offense and how improved they are. This is why it stuck with me today that it was on them a lot. So it was on the defense too, but you invested a high round pick in Marvin Mims. You invested a previous former first round pick in Jerry Jeudy. You invested a lot of money in Courtland Sutton. Who is your leading receiver today? Samaje Perine. 4 catches, 73 yards. That's the second time this season that a running back has led your team in receiving. And I understand that, it's going to be a big part of the offense under Sean Payton, but that's endemic of the struggles and the inconsistencies of the Broncos passing game. If they were more consistent, it wouldn't be P. Ryan leading the offense. They probably win this game, Chad, and Russell Wilson wouldn't have turned the ball over.
Well said, my friend. I don't know about you guys, but watching this game and Broncos football 2023 in general, I'm one of those guys that I see something like that, I work up an appetite. So join us in making Little Caesars, which is the official pizza sponsor of the NFL, part of your game day. Pizza, again, especially for football, it's perfect for game days. So order online during our Pizza pregame, 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day on Sundays, and get ready for some football and fun. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. Either way, Zach, everybody wins.
Yeah, I'm a cheese pizza when I partake in Little Caesars. I also like their pepperoni a lot, but their crazy bread is my go-to there. But anyway, speaking of winning, guys and gals, everyone scores with convenient delivery of our new store in Pizza Portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the game.
That's still, man, a tricky alliteration there, but
Pizza
I
Portal
love it.
pickup.
It's snazzy, it's catchy. I actually love Little Caesars. That's a true statement. So thank you. All right, let's dive back in. Let's see what's on everybody's mind. Ryan, thank you, big dog. He says, "Hey fellas, by the way, what'd you think of the uniforms? Real quick, quick reply. What'd you think of the snow capped or whatever they call it?"
They lost. That's really all I really care about. They looked, I guess, decent, but they lost the game in them. So
Ryan says it's time to have an everything must go sale and rebuild. I hate it, but I rather know my team was doing something, even if the plan takes 2 to 3 years. I don't want to put band aids on an open chest wound. Yeah, I like to say band aid over a bullet hole because it ain't gonna help you. But yeah, you might be. The Broncos are kind of running out of runway to do anything but start Zach angling for the future and in the wake of another losing season, if that's how this indeed does shake out, even with all that dead money, you've gone to the well with two different coaches. At that point, it wasn't enough Russell Wilson to move the needle. You eat that dead money and you start over. Unfortunately, FA bro again. Love you, dog. He says start the rebuild now. Even the Texans game doesn't look like a gimme. True. Start the process. Look at the Dolphins and Lions. This team is not a QB away, but having a Williams or a May will help start the process. I am ready for the rebuild. Indeed. Yeah. And you might even be able to get a little something for Russell Wilson in a trade for what it's worth. Fourth top rope super chat from FA saying, please, please, please talk me into coming to the meet and greet. Only reason I will come is because of you guys. Don't know if I can stomach this team anymore. I haven't missed a game in 12 years, watched every game. LOL. Well, look, dude, I got to tell you something. As much as we all love the Broncos, I mentioned this on a pod last week, but um, we do that to hang out with everybody and meet people face to face and see so many of you who we have now had the great privilege to meet face to face and catch up and talk and hang out. And so, FA, I know you've had a chance to meet with Mr. Producer himself, Scott Kennedy, but Zach and I, we'd love to see you and hang out. And it's you can look at it, I guess, Zach, as kind of commiserate with us, come commiserate over what's going on with the Broncos, but that's too much of a negative slant. Come hang out with us, like-minded people of the same tribe, because if you're not there, we will miss you, big dog. Your absence will be felt.
yeah, FA, you are a certified legend of the podcast, and I can speak for everyone that's going to be there when I say that we would love to have you. And I know, speaking from experience, the Broncos can be 0-16 in the last game of the year. If we held a meet and greet, then y'all would show out, come out, and have a great time. It really is super fun, and I look forward to that. So does Chad, Scott, everybody else, more so than the actual game. So FA, win or lose, regardless, we would love to see you out there on the 22nd.
One guy I know for sure we're going to be seeing is this cat right here, Naj Altaf, again tonight. Thank you, brother. We're looking forward to it. We're only a couple weeks away now. He says, I get this idea of a rebuild, but we won't get fair market value for anyone talking about selling at the trade deadline. Teams know we're a disaster. So what? We get a bunch of fourth, fifth, sixth round picks to top it off. We have a failed GM and a coach who is too full of himself. I have lost all hope. Well, let me put some perspective on this. Let's say it is a bunch of fourth, fifth, sixth. If you really do host a fire sale at the deadline, well, let's look at some of the holes because we've talked about here, Zach, that it's not just the Broncos aren't a quarterback away. Well, the last few games in particular, it's been just jumping off the field. The reality that the Broncos utterly lack speed and athletic dynamic, ability at the second level of the defense. You could find a good linebacker with a fourth, fifth, sixth round pick that could be developed into something like that down the road. You've got some obvious O-line holes still. I mean, Lloyd Cushenberry, Mike McGlinchey, even in a rebuild, Zach, they're going to ride this one out. They kind of have to contractually, but you're probably looking at another left tackle if you go for a rebuild. Garrett Bowles might be on the table as someone they could look to parlay at the trade deadline. So all those picks, they start adding up. And That's what it takes. Look how Jimmy Johnson did it with the Dallas Cowboys back in the day when he fleeced Minnesota in the Herschel Walker trade.
Yeah, you're right. You can get value in starters in the middle rounds, the late rounds, even doesn't have to be a first rounder. Scott makes a good point in our side chat, though. You would be getting market value for these players. You wouldn't be getting perceived value. So if you want a first for Jerry Jeudy and you get a third, well, that's his market and you have to live with it. But more so than getting the actual picks, it's about getting these players off the books. If you have to just accept a fourth or fifth for someone like Garrett Bowles, for example, it's about getting his contract off the books and freeing up some money so you can rebuild. My thought, and I had this a few minutes ago and I wanted to say it, it's tough. It's a weird situation for the Broncos to be in if they, in fact, do go through with the rebuild. We talked about the Texans. Well, the Texans, before the rebuild in that pre-period, they had Davis Mills as a starter at quarterback. And that's the perfect hold the fort pre-rebuilding quarterback. Cheap, low cost, low risk, I guess high reward. You don't have that luxury with Russell Wilson. How do you go through a full-scale rebuild when your quarterback will be 36 next season and you're paying him $45 million a year? So I don't really envy Sean Payton in that regard, Chad. I have certainty that he can turn over the roster and get the players in the building that he wants. But that $245 million question still remains under center.
Don't lose all hope, all right, because this too shall pass, Naj, and we'll get through it together, big dog. All right, this Ethan, again, bro,
Wow.
throwing down from across the
so much.
pond. We
It's
love
amazing.
you. We love you, big dog. He says, Broncos country is not used to rebuilding, but it's here. Many of the older players on this roster have known nothing other than losing, regardless of coaching. Reboot, Broncos country. I think we have the right coach to turn it around, but it will not be soon. So hunker down. I got to tell you guys, I understand, Zach, how I'm going to echo Ethan on something here. I understand how the stock, the Sean Payton stock right now is currently down. Like if you were to look at it like a stock market graph, right? His stock is down right now for obvious reasons. His team's 1-4. But I still am not worried about him being the head coach. Like I'm not going, like this time last year, Zach, when they hired Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos got out to the start they did, it was like, ooh, I've seen enough meaningful production and improvement in specific areas that have plagued this team for so long that I am encouraged by that. Again, though, I would be even more encouraged if he would just have the gumption to pull the plug on the one big mistake he's made so far, hiring Vance Joseph, because, Zach, it cannot get worse. You got to pull the plug on that sooner than later, at least to send a message to your fans who are really the stakeholders of the team here. Like, let everybody know that you can see what's going on, you recognize the problem, and you're man enough to go, hey, I done screwed up.
Yeah, I saw this and I just lost all train of thought. Boom, Ethan. Wow, thank you so much.
Yo, blowing all my hair back.
Wow.
Look at that, dude. You get the Chad's shiny marble shot for that. All right. That's what. Goodness gracious.
Incredible. Thank you
Ethan,
so much.
a third top rope. Golly, Zach, you read this one.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure, my honor, Ethan. Thank you. The Broncos were never a quarterback away. They were a head coach away with vision for roster building. They have that now. Now Broncos country has to let him rebuild, something we are not used to. Yeah, I think even the most optimistic, sunshiny Broncos fan will admit it's time to make some uncomfortable truths and decisions about this organization apparent and get the young guys playing. It's tough because it's so early in the season, Ethan. How do you enable the rebuild? How do you flip and activate that mindset, that process? It's not going out there and losing games, but it is giving the younger guys more playing time, seeing what they can do, and start to really look to the future. It's all you can do at 1-4 is pivot to 2024 and get your battle plan in order.
For those of you who don't know, Ethan is in the UK, all right? And he is one of the exemplars of our little phrase that has become a thing here, which is Broncos country is not a geographic location. It is a state of being. And we love you, big dog. Hope to someday. I know you got to hang out with Scott at the Broncos Jags game last year, but we hope one day to be able to meet you as well, big dog. So thank you very much, Ethan. Much appreciated, bro. And as Michaela says here, love you. Thank you, Michaela. She says, time to rebuild. Where'd it go? She flashed off. Hope it will be just 1 year, MHH forever. Yeah, and that's one other thing. Like on this topic, Michaela brings it up. A lot of our great superstars have brought it up tonight. It's one thing as a fan base, Zach, to stare in the face the reality that you need to rebuild. Right? There's enough problems that you just have to kind of get the building blocks, scatter them to the wind, and start over. But for a fan base that A is not used to being losers, and B has already suffered through the longest losing streak since this, we'll just call it of the Super Bowl era. All right. Since the Broncos became an NFL team, it's really hard pill to swallow to say, okay, now we're going to officially go ahead and basically signal to everybody we're going to rebuild, knowing that best case scenario, typically, Zach, in a rebuild, unless you like just hit that miracle grand slam with your first draft class on the rebuild, you're looking at year 2 of a rebuild to typically start seeing some returns, but oftentimes they're year 3, year 4. So it is a hard pill to swallow for great members of Broncos country like Michaela and Ethan and Naj and FA and everybody.
I feel like even if the product on the field was better, though, if the Broncos went through a full rebuild and fans were aware it might be a losing season, if the games were entertaining, if the defense was competent, or if the offense wasn't shooting itself in the foot and looking like the Keystone Cops out there, I think there'd actually be more support and more buying in and more interest in the Broncos brand of football. But what does Scott like to say? When you're bad and you're boring, it's the worst combination. And the Broncos are still that. Their offense is a little better, but it kind of fizzles out toward the end. The defense still 70-yard touchdowns allowed. Zach Wilson did make clutch throws in the fourth quarter before that interception, but Russell Wilson fumbling the ball away. I mean, your running back leading your team in receiving yards. It's the same old Broncos, and that's not a good product, Chad, at all.
And even Sean Payton said that I've got to be better relative to his play calling. He said, I got impatient today talking about the second half, going away from the running game, admitting kind of a lack of poise when he started seeing which way this thing was going and how the Jets got points to open the second half. You know, he kind of threw what his game plan was based on scouting these Jets to the wind, and it blew up in his face. 4 straight 3 and outs. So, you know, he's got some reckoning to do with the man in the mirror as well. Casey, brother, great to see you tonight. Was really hoping that we would get a chance to see you after chatting on Twitter a little bit. Thank you, buddy. Says it's time. Sell off what depleting values value. It's time. Sell off what depleting value peak. Prepare value/peak. Prepare for Caleb Williams. And before anyone says Caleb won't change anything, last I checked, we need a QB for the future. Rebuild O-line and fire VJ again. Yeah. Hashtag fire VJ again. I feel you on that. I'm not really hearing anyone. If there are people out there saying Caleb wouldn't move the needle for a team like the Broncos, I'm not really seeing it. But Zach, I got to tell you, more and more as time goes on, I spend less and less time on Twitter. So maybe it is being said. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we can all agree that Caleb Williams is he looks like a generational prospect. I think the Broncos would have at least a decade of success with him if he pans out like we all think he could. But if you put him on a team whose defense allows 70 points, is it really going to matter? If you put him on an offense and his offensive line is allowing sack after sack or penalty or pressure or whatever, is it really going to matter? That's why it's hard for people to understand. It's not just Russ. It's not just VJ. It's not just one thing or the other. There are multiple issues that remain. And that's what's so frustrating for me. I can speak for myself because I was saying these same exact words this time last season in the same cadence with the same passion and the same shock that at what I'm witnessing, and nothing really has changed because it's still a multifaceted issue, and not just Caleb Williams alone will correct that.
Indeed. I think that this, if this was even a slight, we've said it before, Zach, if this was even an average defense, this team probably would be right now 2-3, maybe even 3-2 instead of 1-4. because the offense has been better. They have had some big plays happen on special teams. Outside of a couple of muffed things from the Rook, from Marvin Mims, they've seen improvement on special teams. They've seen improvement on offense. And just when you needed the defense to at least stay the same, not regress, not only does it regress, but like to the cellar. But guys, real quick, we got to let you know we are brought to you today by Manscaped, who has taken a step up from Balloween to bring you your face the cleanest shave it's ever seen. So this season, no need to toil and trouble. Manscaped's all-new Handyman is the best way to get rid of that stubble. Featuring a compact design and next-gen skin-safe technology, the Handyman was designed to give you that smooth finish without the mess of a traditional shave. I've been using it. It's killer. Get the sweetest treat this Halloween by going to manscaped.com. Use code HUDDLE for 20% off, Zach, plus free shipping.
There's so many different uses for the Handyman or any of Manscaped's products. Of course, it's for the undercarriage, but you can use it on your chest, your shoulders, your arms, anywhere there's hair. Manscaped's products have saved me quite a bit in my journey with them, and I recommend them highly to anyone who wants to improve their self-care.
I use it. All of my 3 sons who have reason to use it. My youngest is still only 2, but the ones who are older, they have reason to use it. They love it. They use it. So get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with the code HUDDLE. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using the code HUDDLE. For a look as sweet as candy, get yourself the Handyman from Manscaped. All right, back to the chat. Friendly Giant, what's up, big dog? Appreciate you. Protection needs to improve, but throw the darn ball, Russ. Gotta let the rush outrun the pocket sometimes and step up. Someone sneak Mims some stick 'em. Yeah, dude, Russ, I don't know what it is. That's the one thing I'll kind of pick a hole in him through this season is still holding on to the ball too long. Not as bad as it was for most of last season, Zach, but still, come on, dude. Trust your eyes. Trust your receivers to make a play. Get rid of the ball. Definitely cost the Broncos today on more than one sack, plus that ugly lost fumble to clinch the game for the Jets. James, rebuild. Thank you, bud. He says everyone is on the table, PS2 included. Everyone must go. It's harsh, but you got to consider all offers, Zach. Today was really the first game-affecting play that PS2 has made this season, and he's 5 games in. So I don't think he should be viewed per se as a totally off-limits, sacrosanct, asset relative to potential trades.
No, no player really is untouchable unless maybe your name is Patrick Mahomes. But I wasn't in favor of trading Surtain. I figured you have to have some building blocks, but he's the only player that's going to get you back any sort of decent draft capital. He's the only player that's going to return you a first-round pick. They're not getting that for Jerry Jeudy. They're not getting that for Simmons. Surtain would, and then some. It's just a matter of, do you want to part with that and open up another hole on your team?
Hey, we're pushing almost 1,000 viewers alone live right now on YouTube. Guys, please be kind and like the video. It helps us out a lot, especially on YouTube, especially on Facebook. Small thing that you can do to help us out big time. Lawrence, we're going to do some rapid fire here. So Sean Payton has given me headaches. How do we lose to all the coaches we fired or other rookie coaches? McDaniels, Vic, Hackett. I know, you're right. The trifecta. Brutal, dude. Brutal. FA again, yo, dude.
Thank you, FA.
Holy
wow.
Smokes. Thank you. Your generosity is very meaningful to us, dude. Thank you, FA. He says Ethan is not even coming off the top rope. He's parachuting his way in. True. LOL. He and I share a brain on this. Start the rebuild now. Fans don't want to hear it, but it's the best. It's for the best. I am on board. Yeah, it's becoming readily apparent, Zach, that it's the only meaningful remedy that's really left, unless you fire Vance Joseph and something miraculous unfolds. But in the football business, pro sports, production-based thing, you can't really hang your hat on and plan around the hope for a miracle.
FA, you and Ethan both are parachuting in from the top. It's like SEAL Team 6 in here. Definitely appreciate you. Michaela as well. You guys are just dropping down from the rafters. Michaela, $299.99. What do we even say to that? Thank you so much. So much, Michaela. You are One of a kind. I don't have any other words. I say it every podcast. You are unbelievable. Michaela says the sad part is some of us won't even see brighter days. All they will remember is losing. I mean, it's a pretty macabre comment there, Chad.
Yeah, and Michaela, I'll echo Zach. Thank you. We love you. Can't wait to
Yeah,
see you
thank
in
you,
a couple
Michaela.
of weeks. Hey, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, it would suck to leave this earthly plane with the last 7.5 years as you know the last thing. But I'd also have to remember that I witnessed some monumental triumphs for my team, from back-to-back Super Bowls to that Super Bowl 50 triumph. Like, it's been great being a Broncos fan. It's added meaning to my life in more ways than one, and I know a lot of you can say the same thing. So that's not to necessarily, Michaela, ignore the brutality of what it's been the last 7 years, but more to just kind of balance it a little bit with a modicum of glass half full.
And don't lump yourself in there, Michaela. You will see brighter days, and I promise you, it's not as far away as you think it is. Thank you again so much, though.
Ronnie Ray on Facebook, appreciate you saying, evening Broncos country. Chad, Zach Scott, who truly gets the blame for the loss? Offensive play caller or Russ? No, I'll tell you, this is a lump of coal that they all share in this case. Special teams has to take its lumps. Marvin Mims, the offense, no excuse for four straight 3-and-outs, four straight 3-and-outs, and then coughing it up in the penultimate moment. And Sean Payton, ultimately, as he said at the podium, bottom line is buck stops with him. He has got to do a better job. And even he, without being led, he kind of said this himself. The question was kind of along the line, Zach, of, talk about how you struggled to get the running game going today. And he atypically, this is not Peyton's style, offered up something beyond what he was asked by way of explanation, saying that, I got impatient and I went away from the run game. It was a big mistake. That's a big reason, Zach, why they sounds like, according to Peyton's outlook anyway, they had those four straight 3-and-outs. So I would say that this is, and then the defense. We haven't talked about the defense allowing Brees, to almost get to 200, and Zach Wilson to look like a more than competent quarterback for most of the game. So this is one of those games where, to me, it really is a complete team loss. Whereas you can point to the defense every time in those previous three.
Yeah, that's what this is the problem. Not to call you out, Ronnie, but it's not an either or. That's what I was talking about earlier. It's not black and white. Again, it's very much gray. It's not one thing. It's not just VJ or just Russ. A lot of people's hands are dirty. There's a lot of people with stink on their fingers, I think, with Sean Payton's expression. Yeah.
Yep.
So Sean Payton himself included. And how about George Payton? How about the bill finally coming due for the GM, the architect of the team? Say what you want about Sean Payton's influence, Chad. You mentioned Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton. They're nice linebackers to have, but they're still not good enough. It's years and years and years of the Broncos at inside linebacker for one, and now right tackle, especially Mike McGlinchey. It's just continuing to haunt them. At some point, the guy who bought the groceries has to face some criticism, as much as I like him.
Same here. I mean, we've both been proponents of Peyton for most of his tenure, but we also have to maintain our credibility with ourselves and with you, and call a spade when it needs to be called out. And it goes, Zach runs counter to maybe something we've said in the past. There's a lot of podcast hosts out there that will try and gaslight you and either lie about a previous take or make more out of what's happening and try and gloss over. But no, as it stands right now, it's looking like a once promising GM is tail spinning his moves. Anyway, Tim, brother, thank you. He says, this team is garbage once again. How many years have we been rebuilding? This is getting old. No rebuilds, buddy. Up to this point, you're seeing big time reboots. All right, which you could say, you're splitting hairs, Jensen. Maybe on some level, but in a strictly technical sense, the Broncos have not really burnt it down and rebuilt. They've been trying to put Band-Aids over bullet holes, hoping that this quarterback will do the job, hoping that this coaching move will do the job. And, it's time to really, I think, Zach, do it the old-fashioned way. Lawrence says we need to think about the future. All the old guys, cut them, I guess he's saying. It's time for the new class to earn their spot for next year. or learn. We need to move on from them now. This is when a coach will show real adjustments or die slowly, like Hackett. I mean, Hackett died quite suddenly. Like his death as a head coach was quite quick. One of two head coaches in the Super Bowl era to be fired before his first season was over. EJ, appreciate you, Lawrence. EJ, you demand. I've seen brownie troops that put up more fight and shown more toughness than this group of losers. Sorry, that's not fair to the brownie troops. I've seen clown shows with more fight and effort.
Ouch.
Yeah, dude, it's brutal. Hey, we're here as your football priest. Part of our job sometimes is to help you exorcise the demons. And so get it off your chest. Doug, good to see you. Thank you for the support on Facebook, my friend. Mark McDonald, also on Facebook. Love you, bro. He says, I'm just over it at this point. We need to rebuild and be done with it. So disappointed. I know. Mike, the Ronk in the house. Thank you, buddy. Great to see you. Appreciate the support. As always, one of our key, crucial community members. Hazed out on YouTube saying defense down so bad that the PS2 interception celebration was dull. These guys are not fired up, and Vance doesn't know what to do about it. Yeah. They're really stuck in their own heads, and they're not being helped, Zach, by their coach. Their coach continues to let them down from a schematic and a philosophical and a leadership perspective, which is, again, another reason why Sean Payton needs to make the move. Now, if fires VJ tomorrow, let's say he does, he will be criticized by many because he's waited so long, I think, by saying that he's now VJ's the scapegoat. Hey, Payton hired this guy. Hey, this is fingerprints of Payton all over it. VJ's the scapegoat. No, this is you saying, oh man, my right arm is gangrenous. I got gangrene. I got to excise this thing. It's going to suck. But to save the body, the arm's got to go. That's what's got to happen right now, Zach.
It's a very colorful analogy. I was very much enjoying that, Chad. We always say like the team takes on the complexion, the complexity, whatever of their coach.
Yep.
And if you look at Vance, I'm sure a nice guy off the field, I'm sure a guy you want to grab a beer with or talk football, whatever. But he looks like very much deer in headlights on the sideline, just like Hackett did as a head coach. If I'm a player, I'm not getting fired up under Vance Joseph. I'm playing like he coaches, which is confused.
Well said. FA again. Golly, dude. Going toe to toe. It really is hashtag SEAL Team 6 here. FA. Bro says Michaela to not be outdone. True. She is the Duchess. Lady D coming in like Wonder Woman, parachuting her way in. Hey, don't forget her cake at the meet and greet. LOL. Thank you for the reminder, big dog. Much, much appreciated. And thank you for the support, FA. Love it, dude. Flat Earth Training jumping in. Somehow managed to find a secret sub-level to rock bottom. Russ is bleeding this team. No talent, bad coaching, time to tank. Yeah, rock bottom. Yeah, they're like drilling through the asphalt and into the sewer. I don't know. I'm trying to find a metaphor that fits here. Mike, thank you, bud. He says some hot garbage. Indeed. Dumpster fire. I don't know if I'd call it a dumpster fire quite yet. That's what I would call a team that is like completely listless, no vision whatsoever, and zero competence anywhere to be found at the leadership positions. Sean Payton's lost the honeymoon period. Sean Payton's lost a lot of credibility, Zach. It could even get worse for him if he doesn't make some tough decisions. I'm going to grab Phil and I'll serve it over to you. Thank you, Phil. Down in Tucson. Love you, big dog. Hard to believe he says we are this bad. Offense sucked. D actually looked better for a while in the first half. Did we even have 3 deep balls today? It's sad, just sad. Hashtag Buckham, go Broncos. Yeah, the deep ball thing wasn't happening today. It wasn't happening. I could pull up how many 20-plus yard plays they had, but it wasn't happening, Zach.
The previous comment, one of them said the Broncos are a clown show. And I think that's even an insult to clown shows because those are at least entertaining. The Broncos aren't entertaining. You call them a dumpster fire? Well, at least dumpsters had things in them that were of value before it was lit on fire. What do the Broncos really have in terms of value? They have one player that would bring back a first-round pick, for sure, and Patrick Surtain. So they are bad and boring. I hate to keep going back to that expression, but it's still the same old Broncos where they were a year ago. In some areas it's better, some personnel is better, but as a whole, the results are the same. 1-4 speaks for itself.
So,
Sad, very sad.
Zach, this might surprise everybody, but uh, the Broncos had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plays that the NFL qualifies as explosive. Two 38-yard plays. One was that rush by McLaughlin, Russell Wilson pass. They had some explosive moments. They just couldn't capitalize. Kicking field goals, taking safeties, and then giving it away at the end. That's how you lose. Doug Smith. Haven't heard a lot of talk about it, but have either one of you seen how seldom our receivers are winning their routes? Yeah, I mean, not so much Judy. Judy, I think he's kind of getting a lot of shade. Oh, he hasn't scored since December. He's not producing, etc. Understandably, but Russ is not going to him. Russ isn't really consistently going to anybody. This time last year, he was like force feeding Sutton to a point where it became very easy, Zach, for opponents to just key on that. And then eventually he kind of pulled his head out and started spreading the ball around. But he doesn't really have a go-to guy right now. And I don't know why he's not going to Judy, but your thoughts on how the receivers are or aren't winning their routes?
I mean, his go-to guy could come back as soon as next week, Greg Dulcich. I don't know if he will, but he needs that safety blanket. And losing Tim Patrick, losing Dulcich was a blow to Russ. Though all things trickle down. There was a comment about Russ playing more scared. Well, he's going to play more scared whenever he drops back, he's pressured or sacked or hit. So that's why it's a collective failure. Chad, you hit the nail on the head when you said it was a pure team loss. It wasn't one or the other. It was offense. It was defense. It was special teams. It was coaching. It was the complete gamut. That's why the Broncos are 1-4 right now.
Yeah, and surprisingly, the Jets only had 3 plays of 20 plus or more today. It's just that one of them was a dagger that struck so deep that you could see it come out the back. That Breece Hall 72-yarder, man, it just brought back all the demons for the defense. Oh, we suck again. The meme from the Water Boy, etc. Aaron, what's up? Thank you for the super chat. So many newer names we're seeing on super chat tonight. We love it. Welcome. So great to have you. Aaron says this game was worse than the Miami game for VJ. Miami had speed. You stack the box, make Wilson throw in tight coverage. This was a layup for VJ. I think mostly in Zach, if the Broncos, the way they played today against the pass, I think this is a credit to the return of Justin Simmons. Maybe this is a hot take, but hear me out. I think the way this defense performed today against the pass, you could have come out on top if you were even just an average rushing defense in terms of holding your opponent to under 100 yards rushing. But you didn't. You allowed them to just run roughshod, especially in the second half. So I agree that Vance Joseph probably could have done a lot more. But yeah, Zach, for a defensive coordinator that's going against a reeling team off 3 straight losses, 8, what'd they say on the broadcast? 8 straight road losses, a quarterback that doesn't know his rear end from, whatever, that should be a layup. The emotional overtones, Sean Payton needing to back up his crap talking, the franchise getting revenge on the head coach that torpedoed their promising 2022, and he VJ'd it. What more can be said?
I like that. He VJ'd it. I mean, you might win this game if you don't allow a 72-yard touchdown run. I mean, you might win the game if you don't allow Fields to look like a Hall of Famer or Sam Howell. I mean, I don't put this worse than the Dolphins game. That was historically bad. I think the Chicago game was also bad because Fields was regarded as a bust, and he was literally perfect in the first half. Zach Wilson, we all knew, was going to feed off his running game. And when you allow Breece Hall to average, 8 yards a carry, something like that, 8 point on the dot, over 22 carries, you're never going to win many football games like that. So it goes back to coaching and Sean Payton's fatal mistake as Broncos coach, hiring VJ as coordinator.
James Moss. Okay, well, let's do some rapid fire because we are about out of time. James, love you, big dog. Is there enough Wilson on tape that would net a good trade value and worth eating the dead cap? He might be the only tradable piece. I don't know about that last thing, but I think you could definitely find a trade partner, but the trade partner, Zach, would definitely be asking Russ to they'd either be asking the Broncos to eat a lot of the contract or Russ to accept some kind of a restructure. But even in the event of a trade, I was looking at this on overthecap.com the other day. Even in the event of a trade, the Broncos are still going to have a ton of dead money because of the huge signing bonus this dude got. So time will tell. Time will tell. George on Facebook, appreciate you, bud. Our defense is so bad and our offense isn't much better. Agreed, bro. Agreed at this stage. At least today they weren't the offense. EJ, yeah, it does, Zach. Just hope the Broncos can play better. Sadly, the realistic fans have been chastised for the last 3 or 4 years for calling out this team as the soft, incompetent marshmallows they are. So he's referring back to his previous super chat, but I can't remember exactly what the crux of it was. But over to you.
I'm just thinking, where would Russell Wilson even go? Would he accept a backup job? Where would he even start around the NFL? I'm trying to rack my brain for his contract, for his play, his tape, and also the narratives that go along with Russ, the quarterback that you'd be getting, whether it's fair or not, the criticism and the baggage and that PR. I don't think a team would take him on, even if his contract was a little more manageable.
And don't look now, but the Seahawks are 3-1. They're on bye this week, but they're 3-1. EJ, really appreciate you, bro. Thank you, bud. Okay, where are we at, Scott? Chief in the house, braided hair Brady. Love it. Light up the matches and start the firing process, starting with VJ. Now open to a rebuild. MHH. Love it, dude. Thank you, buddy. Luke Ellis, good to see you. He says, and thank you. Very generous of you, my friend. He says, we stink, but this podcast does not. Appreciate y'all. MHH for life.
Thank
Right
you,
back
Luke.
at you, bro. Thank
Appreciate you.
You are a prince. Brian Sherman, thank you, buddy. He says, fire Vance, Sean, and George.
Jerry Rossberg.
Bring back Jerry Rossberg and rebuild. Yeah, I mean, you've got an interim special teams guy being viewed as a superior option to Sean Payton 5 games into the season. You got a problem here in terms of PR, in terms of perception. Sean, I know he's got to make a move, but he's not going to. You know why he's not? This week anyway, you got a short turnaround. You got the Chiefs in 4 days. So those of us who are going, maybe we'll wake up to something on Monday. I mean, if he hasn't done it by now, maybe he just won't, Zach, and then we'll grab FA.
Can we just let the man enjoy retirement, please? I'm talking about Jerry Rossberg. You dragged him off the couch midway through last season. Let the man be. He doesn't want to come back to this mess, nor should he.
FA again, dude.
Thank you, FA.
Seriously. He says, thank you. He says, just look at Caleb Williams yesterday. He puts this team on his back and wills them to victory. We need that dog at QB. When the chips are down, you put the team on his back. Peyton Manning was like that. John Elway was like that. Even Jake Plummer was like that. Agreed 100%. Agreed 100%. Jake Plummer. Look, I love Peyton Manning, but still from an emotional perspective, it's a little bit weird. But Jake Plummer right here, this cat right here. My son Theo plays with these. Jake Plummer, still number 2 quarterback for me. Sorry, all time. As far as like affection that I have for the quarterbacks, Elway, Jake Plummer. Thank you, FA. Scott, are we one more? I'm looking. Lance, thank you, buddy. He says, thanks for being here, MHH. I know it sucks being in this position as a franchise, but it's a new era now. Time for a rebuild. We've got some pieces to build with. Jalil looks so nice. And he's saying Drake May over Caleb Williams 1 day at a time. We shall see, my friend. And yeah, there are some young pieces. Real quick, all right? Just to list them. Jalil, obviously, there's something there. Mims, couple of dough moments today, but, there's something there. Nick Benito starting to turn a corner. Jonathan Cooper, has, I think, shown more this season as a starter than he has in years prior. Pat Surtain, all right, if we're talking about the young pieces. O-line, I mean, Quinn Miners, decently ranked according to PFF's grades. I mean, I don't know what you want to say about the film, but there are some young pieces, Zach. And then Flazify says, why did we have to beat the Bears? We need a Panthers win badly, ASAP relative to, rebuilding and getting that top 3 pick.
I mean, at this point, it might be I don't know, a wet blanket, but I'm que sera when it comes to the draft and how the Broncos pick. I mean, if they lose, they have a higher draft pick. If they win, they don't. What will be, will be. Isn't that how it goes, Chad?
Okie engineer, what's up, dude? Thank you. Sutton needs to go, he says. He's been a non-factor this year and really since Tim Patrick went down last season. Mims is the future. He needed to be more involved. Agreed on that. Problem is he kind of scared Sean Payton a little bit today. And so now it's like, what do you do? But he tried to show faith in the guy. He gave him that red zone touch on the screen where they took Sutton off the field. They brought in Mims. The problem was it was too far from the line of scrimmage. B, I know this is weird. A, it was pretty obvious and evident that if you're taking Sutton off the field, hey, we got this Mims kid, right? So I don't know. I agree though that you keep trying to find a way to get him more involved, Zach, and just know that in the process, as a young guy, as a young rook, you are going to take some lumps occasionally. The hope is that it's 3 steps forward, 1 step back, 4 steps forward, 1 step back. You're moving the needle more farther forward, Zach, than you are, going backwards.
He had 1 target on the afternoon for, I don't care about fumbles. He's going to make mistakes. He's a rookie. He is leading your team in receiving yards. He was leading the NFL comfortably in yards per catch. 1 target for a player of his magnitude is unacceptable. I don't care.
Patriot Tex, good to see you, my friend. Bonafide superstar here. Says roster needs a rebuild. The GM needs to go. Scouting department should also be revamped. Bring in someone as an advisor like Scott Pioli or Bill Polian. Losing sucks so much. MHH for life. Rebuild. He also says losing is one thing, but does anyone in this organization have passion? I don't see it. Factory of sadness. I do see passion in Sean Payton. I just see also an enormous amount of hubris. And hubris can actually be, Zach, a very useful asset in the pursuit of excellence. All right. In other words, you got to believe you're the bee's knees in order to become the bee's knees, or you got to believe it before it can actually become a thing. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right, etc. But they're offsetting that hubris right now is offsetting what I see as some energy and integrity and passion and all that stuff. I mean, just even seeing a coach put his finger in Russ's face as he's coming off the field on a play that cost the game, I liked seeing that. That's passion. That's a guy that's not just okay.
Oh,
hold on.
No more.
Anyway, we're out of time, guys. We love you. We appreciate it. We got a few messages before we go. Oh, David, I'm 64. Only team I've been a fan for. True Blue, the Papa Bear. True Blue, hardcore Broncos fan. Jeff, it's okay. LOL. I'm getting used to it. Love you guys. And Scott, feel you, big dog. Yeah, it's par for the course. And the Ronk, always closing it out with a very nice message every single night. We love you, Mike. Thank you, big dog.
It was another horrible effort and performance and result today, I think, for the Broncos, but it was another enjoyable, very fast episode of the MHH podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on Twitter at the MHH pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch, including Buckham merchandise, check it out at mhhmerch.com. If you haven't, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. On Instagram, you can find us at mile_high_huddle. And make sure you're leaving your football priest and our Deacon Scott a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every single month. But if anything, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
That it does. A shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters that just made us feel the love big time. Pardon me, big time tonight. I'm going to go kind of in a first name alphabetical order here. Aaron, Brian, Casey Nickel, Chief Braided Hair, Chris Hernandez, the Papa Bear, David McElrath, Diego, Doug Smith, EJ, FA, Flat Earth Trini, Flazify, Friendly Giant, Hazed Out, James Moss, James Todd, Jason Cardoza, Jeremiah Black, Jess, Jordan Lewis, Lance, Luke, the Duchess, Mike Naj, Okie Engineer, Patriot Techs, Rock Chalk Broncos, Ryan, Ethan, aka DWI guys, Troy, Doug, George Fox, Lawrence Rivera, Mark McDonald, The Ronk, Phil McLaughlin, Ronnie Ray, Tim Hoffman. Much love and respect, you guys. Thank you so much for making this a really fun, little over an hour long conversation with you guys, and keep your chin up. We'll be back to see what's going on tomorrow. It's kind of an aftermath / Zach look ahead podcast, because tomorrow will be the only episode of the MHH podcast between today's game, I should say, and the Thursday night throwdown. So be there or be square. We'll be there 6 p.m. Mountain tomorrow night.
Can't wait to break down Kansas City tomorrow, but I really can't wait to talk to you, each and every one of y'all again. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.